A man who was forced to pay 40 years of his wife's life as an insurance debt is now looking for a way to get it back. Hi, Studio Recapped here. Today, we're going to talk about a movie called Paradise, a 2023 production in the action, sci-fi, and thriller genres. Spoiler alert is on. Take care. The company Aeon is a company that buys people's years of life. By conducting DNA tests on each individual, they find a compatible recipient for the donated years, making the transfer possible. Aeon's slogan is, "The passage of time makes your life more beautiful." After the procedure, the aging process takes about 2 to 3 days, with side effects such as headaches, fatigue, confusion, and emotional distress. Max, one of Aeon's employees, meets with a young man named Dennis, who intends to donate 5 years of his life. However, Max persuades him to donate 15 years instead. Dennis and his family are initially opposed to such a long period, as their son would lose his youth, having just turned 18. With Max's persistence and recommendations, they finally agree to go through with the donation in exchange for 700,000 euros. On the other hand, despite all of Aeon's achievements, the company has its critics. Some people hate this company and its employees, protesting daily outside their offices, believing that Aeon interferes in people's lives. At a grand ceremony attended by all Aeon employees, Max is recognized as Aeon's top performer of the year. He has managed to broker deals for 276 years of life in just 3 months. Sophie Tyson, the mastermind behind life transfer technology and the CEO of Aeon, gives a speech about the significance of their work. She mentions several notable individuals who passed away young and argues that if they had access to such services, they could have changed the world and lived for many more years. She claims that through the company's services, 15 scientists have already undergone rejuvenation procedures. However, they still need to continue their research, as while they've succeeded in reversing age, they haven't yet found a way to make it permanent. During an attack by a gunman, all 15 scientists who had undergone rejuvenation and were under medical care are killed. This is revealed to be a targeted terrorist attack carried out by a group called Atom. The leader of the Atom group states that those who turn life into a commodity also turn humans into commodities, and ultimately, anyone who steals others' years will be executed by the Atom group. The infiltrator responsible for killing the scientists had been working undercover as a nurse at the company for several months. Following these events, Novak becomes the new operations manager of Sophie's team in Berlin. As the former manager is dismissed from their position after the attack, Max decides that in the future, he wants to move to a new house near a lake, but his wife, Elena, believes that they still haven't paid off the debts for the apartment they live in and can't afford to make such a move. Additionally, like most couples, they want to have children and wish to spend the rest of their lives raising a family. Elena's family disagrees with Max's career and lifestyle. Her father believes that the company is playing with people's lives, and he thinks it makes poor people even poorer. He believes that Max is not doing an honorable job at all. On their way back from Elena's family home, they discover that their house has caught fire. An insurance company employee states that the fire was not caused by a wiring fault or technical issue, and it was most likely due to an external factor, such as a candle. Furthermore, the insurance company will not pay any compensation for the incident, leaving them with heavy debts. Max and Elena owe 2.5 million euros to the bank, which is now demanding the collateral they had put up. In the loan agreement, Elena had pledged her life as collateral without consulting Max, because her DNA matched one of the applicants for life transfer, in order to prevent them from losing their apartment. The amount they owe the bank is roughly equivalent to 40 years of her life. The police come looking for Elena and take her away. Max then goes to see Sophie, the company's director, and asks her for a loan of 2.5 million euros, explaining the situation. Sophie says she will review the matter and let him know, and then leaves. Max is unable to gather the money, and Sophie does not respond to him. A few days later, Elena is transferred to the operating room, and they don't allow anyone to see her even before the procedure. Max tries to go toward the operating room, but the guards stop him. Elena is taken into the room, where they lay her on a table and connect her to a device to extract 38 years of her life. Max and Elena no longer have a home, so they move to a room they can afford with the money they have. After the procedure, for 3 nights in a row, Elena experiences nausea and dizziness, and each time she looks in the mirror, she sees her face and hands aging. Max receives a message from Erica, the company's secretary, and when he goes there, he learns that he has been promoted, but there's no news about the loan or any help for his wife's condition. When he sees Sophie inside the company, he approaches her, but the guards stop him. Upon seeing Sophie looking younger, Max realizes that Sophie was the recipient of Elena's life years. When Max returns home, he finds Elena lying in the most aged state. Elena tells him that she can no longer live with him, believing that Max's life is still ahead of him. She doesn't want to stay with him out of pity and asks him to leave her and go. Max leaves the house and sees a young girl in the park who is distributing drugs at such a young age. When he returns home, he finds Elena in a bad condition and rushes her to the hospital. The doctor says that they barely stopped the bleeding, and taking 40 years of her life was extremely dangerous and reckless given her condition. Max realizes that Elena was pregnant, but due to being the life donor, she was forced to have an abortion. Max takes her to her mother's house, and her family is deeply shocked and affected by seeing Elena's aging. Later, Max encounters the young drug dealer girl again, who is buying cigarettes. He becomes sure that she has undergone the life donation procedure and asks her to reveal the company that carried out the procedure for her, as he is certain that it wasn't done through their own company. Max contacts a new company, and they agree that after receiving 30,000 euros, they can make a call 1 week later using an unregistered disposable phone once they cross the Lithuanian border. This call will provide them with coordinates that will be valid for 6 hours, allowing them to carry out the procedure. Max creates fake identities for himself and Elena and also acquires a gun. Meanwhile, the Atom Group announces that they act as a wake-up call and that when people fail to stand up against injustice, their group steps in to restore justice. Max follows Sophie and her team, and after waiting for 1 night, he tries to find the right moment to confront her alone. When Sophie enters a cemetery without any guards, Max approaches her. She initially resists and fights with him, but eventually, Max uses a stun gun to knock her out and places her in his car. He then paints the Atom Group's logo on one of the tombstones, making it appear as if this act is being done in their name. Elena, now working as a nurse in a public hospital, returns to her job, but the aging process makes it difficult for her. Max visits her and informs her that he's found a way out, urging her to trust him. He then takes Elena to the place where he has imprisoned Sophie. Sophie's guards are certain that this is not the work of the Atom Group, as they typically kill their targets rather than take hostages. Moreover, other evidence, such as the car license plate and photos, confirms Max's presence at the scene. Kaya, the commander of this operation, tracks down the location of Max and Elena. Elena refuses to accept Jack's plan because it involves killing Sophie after the procedure to avoid getting caught, but Max tries to convince her, explaining that they have no other choice. When Sophie's guards arrive at the location, Max and Elena have already fled and are heading towards the border. They make their way to the port of Rostock because their forged documents are only valid for other locations, not the airport. Novak, who is opposed to Sophie's actions and decisions, sympathizes with Elena, as her life has been stolen by a billionaire simply for not blowing out a candle. In a conversation with Kaya, Novak learns that Kaya is actually 64 years old but appears fully young due to the life extension procedure. Max and Elena, with their new identities, board a ship leaving Berlin, but their whereabouts are traced when a passenger posts a photo from their sea trip on social media. Sophie's team heads toward them. Max secretly locks Sophie in a box and silences her. While traveling, numerous police officers inspect vehicles on the street, making it nearly impossible to escape since their faces are recognizable. Max kidnaps a child and forces their parents to help him escape secretly. The police become suspicious of a truck and try to open and search the box, but with Max's guidance over the phone, they manage to avoid detection. They successfully flee, cross the border, and head toward their destination, waiting for a call from Dr. Burke. When they stop somewhere, the girl they kidnapped claims to be Mary Tyson, Sophie Tyson's daughter, not Sophie herself. Max doesn't believe her and thinks she's saying this to save herself. Mary insists that she doesn't agree with her mother's actions and is on their side. Elena begins to doubt and wonders if Mary is telling the truth, but Max believes that Sophie is lying and playing a role to save her life. Elena is worried that Dr. Burke might not call and could be a scammer. They find a place to rest and wait for news from Burke. Mary tries to convince them to release her, and Elena starts believing her, thinking she's innocent. However, Max remains skeptical, thinking that even if Mary is Sophie's daughter, there's a high chance their DNA matches. Elena is against using Mary for their plan. Mary asks Max to release her so she can wash herself in the bathroom. When Max releases her hands, Mary attacks him from behind and runs away. She calls Kaya, but her phone falls into a swamp like water, and the call is cut off. At that moment, Elena helps Max out of the water. When they return, Elena notices while Mary is changing clothes that she doesn't have the scar from the operation. Elena starts to believe her, while Max insists that the rejuvenation process must have healed the scars. While they are asleep, Sophie's team finds their location and heads toward them. The Atom group, having already located them, reaches them before Sophie's team. It is here that Max and Elena realize that the person they kidnapped is truly Mary, Sophie's daughter, and not Sophie herself. Sophie had lost one of her other daughters in the past, so it's clear that Mary is important to her. This fact catches the attention of the Atom group. Consequently, all three are taken by the Atom group. The leader of the Atom group informs Max that the timing of his benefit from the system, and the sudden death of someone he could have donated life to, along with the house fire occurring just when Sophie desperately needed the life donation, are all too coincidental. These events happened because Sophie needed a life donation from Elena very quickly. The leader of the Atom group believes that Mary is the only Tyson with some conscience, and that they are being unjust to her. Elena argues that they are just as bad as the others because they kill innocent people. They give Elena a weapon to kill Mary, but she refuses to do it. The leader of the Atom group proves that ordinary people don't pull the trigger, and this is the reason they are there, to make sure it happens. Meanwhile, Dr. Burke sends the location. At that moment, Sophie's team arrives, and the leader of the Atom group asks Max to negotiate with them and lure Sophie inside under the pretense of seeing her daughter. Max goes outside and successfully convinces Sophie, but just as she is about to enter, her guards realize it's a trap, and shooting and fighting break out. At this moment, Novak, who turns out to be the undercover agent for Atom, shoots Sophie and is killed in the process. Max and Elena escape with Mary, but during the escape, Mary picks up Elena's gun and shoots at her. However, the gun is empty, and the fact that Mary intended to kill her enrages Elena. Elena plans to use Mary's DNA for the procedure, but Max, who is convinced that Mary is Sophie's daughter and innocent, prevents her from doing so. Elena forces Max out of the car and goes alone with Mary to perform the procedure. They force Mary to undergo the process, and as a result, Mary regains her youth. Sophie wears a bulletproof vest and survives Novak's shot. Kaya, no longer willing to work with Sophie, leaves her for good. Meanwhile, Mary grows older with each passing day. Sophie's promise to Mary is that she will find a donor for her. Now, Elena has regained her youth and is living the life she always wanted. Max, having realized the mistakes of his actions, joins the Atom group in an effort to prevent human lives and souls from becoming commodities for the wealthy.